When I came home from college that summer, I expected hugs, laughter, maybe mom's lasagna. Instead, I found silence. And 3 black garbage bags sitting neatly on the porch with my name written in thick, angry letters. At first, I thought it was a mistake, until I saw my baby blanket stuffed inside one bag and my college acceptance letter torn in half inside another. I tried to open the door. My key didn't fit. And then her voice. My mother's. Cold. "Lisbeth, you shouldn't be here." Through the window, I saw a man's shadow move inside. Tall, broad, familiar in the worst way possible. That's when I realized. Someone had replaced me in my own home. And I wasn't going to leave until I found out who, and why. I still remember the sound of the taxi pulling away, the faint hum of the engine fading into the distance, leaving me alone on the quiet street I'd called home for 19 years. It was supposed to be the start of summer break. But the air didn't smell like home that day. Smelled sour. That's when I saw them. 3 black garbage bags lined up neatly on the porch like unwanted gifts. Each one was bulging, tied tight, and marked with thick black letters. One word. Name. Lisbeth. For a second, my brain refused to understand. Maybe Mom was cleaning out the attic. Maybe she'd packed things for donation. Maybe. Then I saw my own college hoodie spilling from a torn edge. My psychology textbooks. My pink diary. Even the tiny snow globe from our trip to Maine, shattered. My hands trembled as I dropped my suitcase and tried my key. It didn't fit. I jiggled it again, harder this time, but it was useless. My heart started racing. "Mom!" called my voice cracking. "Mom, I'm home." No answer. Just the slow creak of the wind chime on the porch. I knocked harder, each thud echoing in my chest. "Mom! Open up. What's going on?" And then the faintest sound. A step. The blinds in the living room shifted. A shadow appeared. Then her voice. Distant, trembling but firm. "Lisbeth, you shouldn't be here." For a heartbeat I froze. "What do you mean?" I asked, pressing my forehead against the door. "This is my home." Her answer came quiet, but it felt like a slap. "You made your choice. Now live with it." Tears stung my eyes. "What choice?" I just came back from school." "What's happening?" Silence. Then the faintest rustle, someone else inside. A man's voice. "Honey, just let her go. She'll understand soon." My blood ran cold. "Honey." I stepped back, staring at the door like it might suddenly open and make sense of everything. But it didn't. I could only hear muffled whispers, her voice and his. Who was he? Why was he in my house? I turned toward the porch light, the one Dad installed before he passed away. He used to say, "This light will always guide you home." That same light flickered weakly above my head now, illuminating my name scrawled across trash bags. I sank onto the porch steps, clutching my diary to my chest. Every memory of that house, birthdays, laughter, Mom's bedtime stories, all felt like lies. Through the window I saw him. Broad shoulders. Wearing my father's watch. That watch had been buried with him. I pressed my hand to my mouth to keep from screaming. The man glanced toward the window. His eyes sharp, cold, and for the first time I felt something darker than heartbreak. I felt hunted. And as the porch light flickered one last time and went out completely, a single thought echoed in my mind. Someone has replaced me in my own home. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The image of that man, his silhouette framed by my living room window, played over and over in my mind like a looping nightmare. By sunrise, I was still sitting on the porch steps, my eyes swollen, the garbage bags at my feet like gravestones marking what used to be my life. When the morning light hit the window, I saw him again. He was standing in my kitchen, our kitchen, pouring coffee into the mug I'd made in art class years ago. My mug. The one that said, "World's Best Daughter." I stood up, my heart pounding. He walked to the table where my mother sat. She looked smaller somehow, frail, nervous. He reached out and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear like he owned her. "Who are you?" I whispered to myself. I pulled out my phone and called my best friend, Nora. She picked up on the second ring. Lise, you okay? You sound. I'm at my house, I said, shaking. There's a man inside with my mom. He's wearing Dad's watch. There was silence on the other end. Then Nora exhaled sharply. Wait, what? Are you sure it's your dad's? Positive. The gold face was cracked. I remember it. Nora hesitated. Lisbeth. That sounds like Raymond Collins. He used to work with your dad at the firm. I thought he disappeared after the fraud case. Fraud case? He echoed, stunned. You didn't know, she said. Your dad suspected someone was stealing client money. He tried to expose it, but the guy vanished before the investigation started. I felt my throat close. You think that's him? I think, she whispered. He's the reason your dad lost everything before he died. My knees buckled. I gripped the porch railing. My mom's new boyfriend, the man inside my home, might have ruined my father's life. And now he was wearing his watch. The next morning I woke up at Nora's apartment. She'd insisted I stay with her after the shock. The floor mattress was lumpy, but it felt safer than the street outside my house. When I stepped outside to get some air, the mailman stopped me. Hey, you're Lisbeth, right? I left something for your mom yesterday. Looked important. He handed me a thick envelope addressed to the estate of Andrew Voss. My father's name. Tore it open. Inside was a letter from First Union Bank, notifying a change in executor for my father's estate. Raymond Collins. I stared at the signature. Perfect loops, precise strokes. Too perfect. I'd seen my dad's handwriting all my life, and the signature on the attached document wasn't his. It was forged. I rushed inside, waving it in front of Nora. He's stealing from us again. He forged my father's name. Nora frowned. That's a federal crime, Lisbeth. You need to go to the bank. At the branch downtown, the manager confirmed my worst fear. The account was recently reopened by your mother and her partner, he said carefully. They claimed it was for estate consolidation. My stomach twisted. Partner. When I asked for copies, he refused, citing privacy laws. But as he walked away, a clerk slipped me a folded paper with trembling hands. On it was a transaction log showing $247,000 transferred into a new account, under Raymond Collins. That night the air was thick with rain. Nora begged me to drop it, to let it go, but I couldn't. My father's voice echoed in my head. Always keep a copy, Lisbeth. The truth protects itself. So I went back. The house was dark. The only light came from the garage window. My father's old toolbox sat in the corner, rusted and untouched. Inside, beneath old wrenches, I found a manila envelope wrapped in duct tape. Inside it, the original property deed, the life insurance policy, and a letter dated a week before my father's death. The insurance named me as the sole beneficiary, not my mother. The letter read, "If anything happens to me, look for the man with the watch. He's not your friend." My hand shook. My breath caught. A sharp sound sliced the air, the crunch of gravel behind me. Turn. A beam of light hit my face. "Looking for something, Lisbeth?" a voice asked. It was him. Raymond. He stepped closer, his smile cold, the flashlight trembling slightly in his hand. "You shouldn't have come back." The beam of Raymond's flashlight burned into my eyes. I froze, clutching the envelope to my chest. The rain dripped from the garage roof, each drop echoing like a second ticking away before disaster. "Looking for something, Lisbeth?" His tone was smooth, too calm for someone who just caught me going through his secrets. I didn't answer. My throat was dry. He stepped closer, mud splattering across his boots. "You shouldn't sneak around like this. It's dangerous." "Dangerous," I whispered. "You forged my father's signature. You stole his company, and now you're stealing his house." Raymond tilted his head, feigning sympathy. "You're upset. Get it. Losing a parent messes with your memory. Your father trusted me. I helped your mother keep this place. I shook my head, holding up the envelope. He warned me about you. He wrote it down. Something in his eyes flickered. Just for a second, a flash of fear. Then it was gone. He smiled again, sharp and rehearsed. I think you should hand me that, Lisbeth, before this turns into something ugly. Behind him, the house light turned on. The front door opened. My mother stood there, wrapped in a robe, her hair undone, eyes red from crying. Raymond, she called softly. What's going on? She was in the garage, he said without turning around. Stealing documents. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mom, that's a lie. But she didn't move toward me. Didn't even look at me. She stood behind him, not beside me, as if choosing her side required no thought. Lisbeth, please, just go, she whispered. You're making this worse. My heart cracked. I'm your daughter, I screamed. He's using you. Raymond's voice turned cold. That's enough. He snatched the envelope from my hands and tore it in half. Paper scattered through the rain like broken feathers. I lunged to grab what I could, but his hand shot out, gripping my wrist hard. His smile was gone now, replaced by something darker. You don't want to push me, kid, he hissed. People disappear over smaller things. Raymond! My mother gasped, but she didn't move. That told me everything. He wasn't just controlling her. He was terrifying her. He released my wrist and shoved me backward. I fell against the mud, soaking my jeans, the cold seeping into my skin. Raymond stepped back into the light. Get off this property. Or I'll call the police and tell them you broke in. Call them, I spat, trembling. Let's see who they believe. He smirked. A grieving widow and her fiancé. Or a college dropout with no address and no proof. The door closed behind them. I was left outside in the rain, shaking from cold, fear and fury. I gathered the torn pieces of the document, clutching them like a lifeline. But I couldn't piece them all back together. Some were missing. I knew what that meant. He had taken the most important page. The one that named me as the beneficiary. By the time I reached Nora's apartment again, it was almost dawn. I was soaked, shivering and numb. Nora's eyes widened when she saw me. Oh my God, Lisbeth, what happened? He knows, I whispered. He knows I found out. She sat me down, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, and handed me a mug of tea. He threatened you. He nodded. And Mom, she just stood there. Nora clenched her jaw. We're not letting him win. You said you recorded the conversation on your phone, right? I blinked. No. I didn't think. Good thing I did, Nora interrupted, smirking. She held up her phone. I was outside the whole time. I stared at her in disbelief. You recorded everything. She nodded. Every word. Including the part where he said, people disappear over smaller things. That's a threat, Lise. For the first time in days, I felt something that almost resembled hope. Proof. But Nora wasn't done. She plugged her phone into her laptop, opened the video file and froze. Wait, she murmured, rewinding. Look at this. On the edge of the frame, faint but visible in the garage light, Raymond was holding not just my father's documents, but a small black notebook. My father's notebook. The one that vanished after his death. The one he used to record every client transaction at his firm. Oh my God, I whispered. He's been hiding it this whole time. Nora leaned forward. If that book still exists, it could prove everything. The fraud, the theft, even your dad's final warnings. But it's in that house, I said, defeated. I can't go back there. Nora grinned, her eyes dark with determination. Then we'll make him bring it out. How? She looked up, her face lit by the glow of the laptop. Simple. We bait him. We leak what we know, make him panic. When he runs, he'll take the evidence with him. I hesitated. That's dangerous. So is doing nothing, she said softly. And you've already lost too much to stay silent. Her words hit deep. For the first time, I wasn't the scared college girl begging to be let inside. I was my father's daughter. Stubborn, precise, unyielding. He nodded. Okay. Let's expose him. Outside, the morning sky began to lighten. But the light didn't bring comfort. It brought purpose. Because I knew, once we started this, there'd be no turning back. Nora didn't waste time. By sunrise, she'd clipped the most damning part of the video. The moment Raymond said, "People disappear over smaller things." She uploaded it anonymously with the caption, "Ex-financial advisor threatens stepdaughter while stealing her father's estate." The upload was private for now. A time bomb waiting for detonation. I sat beside her, my fingers trembling around a mug of untouched coffee. What if this backfires? I whispered. What if he finds out it was us? He will, Nora said flatly, typing another line of metadata. But not before the right people see it first. What people? She smiled faintly. Your father's lawyer, Mr. Hargrove. I emailed him the link before you woke up. My breath caught. You found him. She nodded. He retired 2 years ago, but his assistant still checks his inbox. If that video doesn't make him call us, nothing will. An hour later the phone rang. I nearly dropped it answering. Ms. Voss. A deep voice said. This is Edward Hargrove. I received your video. My pulse raced. Do you believe me? He hesitated, then said quietly. I believed your father. And I believe you. Those words hit me like sunlight breaking through a storm. He continued. Mr. Collins was under investigation for fraud before your father's death. But the evidence disappeared. Conveniently. If that notebook you mentioned still exists, it could reopen the case. I think he still has it, I said. We saw it in the video. Then you must be careful, Hargrove warned. Collins is desperate. I'll contact the district attorney. Do not confront him again without protection. But fate, as always, had its own plans. That night, Nora's apartment felt tense, the kind of quiet that hums with something waiting to happen. I was half asleep when a sound jolted me, a soft scrape near the balcony. I sat up, heart pounding. Nora stirred beside me. Lise. Shoo. I whispered. The sound came again, metal against metal. Then, a faint shadow moved past the curtain. Nora grabbed her phone, opened the camera quietly, and started recording. Through the faint streetlight, we saw a man in a black hoodie trying to pry open the window lock. Is that? She started, but I didn't let her finish. I grabbed my father's old wrench from the table and moved toward the window. The moment I yanked the curtain, the man flinched. His face visible for half a second. Raymond. Eyes met. He mouthed something through the glass I couldn't hear. Then he ran, fast, vanishing into the shadows. Nora immediately called the police. By the time they arrived, the intruder was gone. But the officer took our statement seriously. You're lucky you woke up, he said grimly. This isn't a prank. He left marks on the door with a crowbar. We showed him the video recording. He promised to add it to the report. For the first time it felt like the world was finally listening. By morning the lawyer called again. I've forwarded everything to the DA, he said. They're opening a preliminary investigation into Collins. Don't go anywhere near him. But I couldn't sit still. Not anymore. That afternoon my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I hesitated before answering. A man's voice. Professional. This is Detective Rowe, PPD. We'd like to meet you and your friend regarding the Raymond Collins file. Nora and I met him at a quiet cafe near City Hall. He was middle-aged, weary-eyed but sharp. We've been tracking Collins for months, he said. The video you provided confirms his location and connection to the Voss estate. He's tied to 3 similar fraud cases involving widows and forged estate documents. My stomach turned. So my father wasn't his only victim. Rowe nodded. We believe he exploited grieving families to transfer assets into shell accounts. We just never had proof. Until now. Nora leaned forward. What do we do next? We need hard evidence, the detective said. If you can get that notebook, or any document with your father's original handwriting, it could end this. I hesitated. That house, he's always there. And my mother. Roe interrupted gently. We'll handle your mother's safety. But if you can lure him out, we'll have a warrant ready. As we left the cafe, Nora squeezed my arm. You know what this means, right? She whispered. You're going back home. That night, I sat on Nora's couch, staring at the flickering TV. The sound of static filled the room, matching the noise in my head. I took out my dad's photo, the one from the shattered frame. His smile was calm, almost prophetic. You told me to stand up for the truth, I whispered. I'm doing it, Dad. I promise. The next morning we executed the plan. Nora posted the video publicly. Within hours it spread like wildfire, shared across forums, local pages, even news snippets titled, "Whistleblower Daughter Exposes Financial Predator." The views skyrocketed. Comments poured in. Stories from people who'd lost everything to con men like him. By noon my phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters called. Lawyers emailed. Even Hargrove left a message. The DA just approved the warrant. Be ready. The trap was set. All we needed now was Raymond to take the bait. At 4:17 p.m. my mother called. Her voice was trembling. Lisbeth, he's furious. He saw the video. He's packing. He says it's your fault. Mom, listen to me, I said quickly. Don't stop him. Just tell me where he's going. He's heading to the cabin, the one near the river. Said he's getting the real papers before they come for him. I met Nora's eyes. The notebook, we said in unison. We grabbed our jackets and ran. The sky was darkening, clouds heavy with another storm. It felt like nature itself was holding its breath. When we reached the cabin road, we saw headlights up ahead. His car swerving wildly on the gravel. He's there, I whispered. We parked a distance away, hiding behind the trees as police cars rolled up behind us. Detective Rowe stepped out, signaling us to stay back. Within minutes, officers surrounded the cabin. Raymond burst out of the front door, clutching a duffel bag. You have no idea what you're doing, he screamed. Rowe shouted back. Drop the bag, Collins. It's over. The moment he hit the ground, paper spilled out, and in the chaos, a black leather notebook slid across the dirt. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. That was my father's handwriting. His final weapon. His truth. The cabin smelled like damp wood and gasoline. Flashing red and blue lights danced across the walls as officers searched every corner. Raymond sat in handcuffs on the porch, his face pale, lips pressed into a hard line, still trying to look in control, even as everything crumbled around him. Detective Rowe handed me the black leather notebook. It was heavier than I remembered, or maybe the weight wasn't in the leather, but in what it contained. Be careful, he said softly. It's evidence now. But you deserve to see what's inside. My fingers trembled as I flipped it open. The handwriting was unmistakable. My father's looping cursive, firm and deliberate. The first page was an ordinary ledger. Client accounts, numbers, signatures. But halfway through I saw it. Raymond Collins. Discrepancies, missing funds, false accounts. Evidence in folder A. Do not trust him. Meeting with board. June 14th. And below it, a final note dated 2 days before my father's accident. If something happens to me, it won't be an accident. My breath caught. He knew. My knees weakened. I sat on the step, clutching the book to my chest as tears blurred the ink. Detective Rowe crouched beside me. Your father was trying to expose him. We'll reopen his case. I promise. I nodded numbly, barely hearing him. All I could see was my mother. Her face when she told me to leave, the guilt behind her eyes. The truth wasn't just about fraud. It was about fear. Later that evening, after the police took Raymond away, I returned home, my real home, for the first time in months. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that holds years of unspoken apologies. The porch light flickered weakly, still refusing to die. Mom was sitting on the couch, her eyes swollen, the engagement ring gone from her hand. She looked up when I entered. "Lisbeth," she whispered, her voice breaking. I didn't know how to stop him. I stood by the doorway, clutching the notebook. "You didn't have to stop him, Mom. You just had to believe me." She started crying, quietly, brokenly. "He said he'd ruin us. He showed me fake papers saying your father left nothing for you. I believed him. I'm so sorry. I wanted to stay angry. I really did. But seeing her now, small, hollow, trapped in her own regret, I couldn't." I walked over and placed the notebook in her hands. "Dad never blamed you," I said softly. "He just wanted you safe." She held the book like it was holy. "I don't deserve forgiveness." "Maybe not," I said. "But I think Dad would have wanted peace." The silence that followed wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't cold either. For the first time in years, we were two broken people trying to rebuild from truth, not lies. A week later, the DA confirmed the charges. Raymond faced multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and obstruction. The insurance policy was restored in my name, and my father's company cleared of wrongdoing. When the lawyer handed me the official deed to our house, I didn't cry. I just stood on that porch, the same one where everything fell apart, and flipped the switch. The porch light came on. Steady, bright, no longer flickered. I smiled through the ache in my chest. "Welcome home, Dad," I whispered. That night, I wrote the final page in my own notebook. They threw me out, but I came back stronger. I found the truth. Found myself. And this time, no one's locking me out again. A month after Raymond's arrest, I received a thick envelope in the mail. No return address. Just my name, written in handwriting I knew instantly. My father's. Inside was a letter, dated the week before his accident. "Lisbeth, if you're reading this, something went wrong. I've tried to protect what's ours, but greed has long shadows. Promise me you'll never let money decide your worth. The world will try to replace love with property, truth with signatures, but your name, Lisbeth, carries weight because of who you are, not what you own." I couldn't stop crying. Not because it hurt, but because it felt like he was still guiding me. The letter ended with one line that felt like prophecy. "When they push you out, build your own door." That night, I framed the letter and placed it above my desk. The light from my porch streamed through the window, steady and warm, just like his love. News outlets called daily. Everyone wanted the girl who exposed a millionaire fraud. But when a journalist asked, "What's next for you?" I didn't hesitate. "I'm going back to school," I said. "To finish what I started, and to study law." She smiled. "Justice inspired by pain." He nodded. "Justice inspired by truth." Later I met with Mr. Hargrove. He told me the DA's office was creating a scholarship in my father's name for students studying ethics and finance. I felt something loosen in my chest, like the circle was closing. "Before I left," Hargrove said quietly, "your father would be proud." Walking out of his office, I realized something. I hadn't just taken back my home. Taken back my story. Months later, the house looked different. Not new, just honest. The garage was cleaned, the broken frame replaced, the walls repainted in soft white. Mom lived with me now, quieter but freer. She'd started volunteering at the church. Her way of making peace. Every evening, I sat on the porch steps with a cup of tea, the same spot where I once cried surrounded by garbage bags. But this time there were flowers instead. Nora visited often. "You know," she teased, "you should tell your story online. People need to hear this." Smiled. "Maybe someday." As the sun dipped behind the trees, I looked up at the porch light, steady, glowing. It wasn't just a light anymore. It was a reminder. Even after being thrown away, I found my way back. And this time, No one's locking me out again.